Hi, my name's Elliot, and today I'll be talking about the use of sound design in media. I'll be talking about this because I'm very interested in video games, and I think that sound design is a very important part. I'm very interested in sound design in video games because it isn't just about the voice acting or the music that's being played, it's about how the music or the ambience can suggest a mood or evoke a feeling, and how certain music can indicate a geographical location, and how certain sounds or a certain style can define a character, and how the Foley sound can mirror or exaggerate how things would sound in real life to create different meanings. And also how the music's being played could clarify something in the story that you weren't quite sure of. It solidifies that. When it comes to sound design in video games, I think one of the first thing that comes to mind is the voice acting. I think that's because the thing that's most prominent when you're playing the video game. And one example I'm going to use is a video game called The Last of Us, and this game was held in very high regard as being a great example of when video games can evoke emotion and different feelings and things like that. And this was achieved through just the sound design alone, with the music choice and the composing of it, and the world that they created through visuals and through audio, and the voice acting in it is phenomenal. And one of the first scenes is just a show of how amazing voice actors can be in creating an emotion and creating a connection between two characters that you've never met before. The prologue to The Last of Us is great for sound design because it just builds and builds and builds to this crescendo that just ends up being heart-wrenching and really emotional. It starts off with a father and a daughter who are just sitting at home, and the father's got home late, and the conversations that they have between them are really human, and they don't seem like the just words on a script. It seems like a really nice flowing conversation, which I think is great about it. The prologue then shows the daughter falling to sleep, and then the father carries her up to bed and lays her in bed, and then the screen goes to black. She's then awoken by a sound of the phone ringing, and she picks it up, and there's a relative on the phone wanted to speak to her father. So this creates a sense of urgency, and the phone call itself is quite piercing, and there's no music to go along with it, so it just makes you concentrate on what's happening. There's a great moment of sound design here where she walks in and looks at the TV screen, as you just saw, and she looks at the screen to see what's going on the news, and to see why everything's so urgent, and where her father is and things like that. And as she's looking at the screen, it just cuts to black, and then in the distance you can just see an explosion, and that's really like the first clue to that something strange is going on. I really like the fact that in this prologue there's no creepy music at this part, which I think some other game companies might have put in to give you just creepy undertones and things like that. But since there's no music or soundtrack or anything like that, it just gives you a sense of that you don't know what's going to happen at any time. Foley is so important in video games as well, because it's not just in the cutscenes that it's important, it's just within the gameplay. If there wasn't any Foley within the vibrating phone, then the players might not have known that this was a thing that you had to go and do to progress the story, and it's so important to the gameplay, but also to the story as well, which is great. At this bit, you can hear the music slowly start to creep in, and it keeps at this pace for a while to keep it really nice and subtle, and to let the voice actors shine and the Foley shine as you're just getting introduced to this world. And I think it's great that they let you experience that on your own without being told that this is scary or this is supposed to be overly suspenseful or things that other musical notes that evoke a certain type of emotion. I think it's great that they let you experience it for yourself without being told how to feel. I think just this whole prologue is just amazing for me, because every time I've replayed it, there's been something new, whether it's something visually or something to do with the sound design. There's something new every single time that I just missed the last time. With this bit in the car, you can really tell that the voice actors have had some direction in the way to act, as obviously the daughter's just witnessed her own dad kill someone, but she also at the same time kind of knew that he was this kind of crazy looking person, and that he was sick, and she knows that some weird things have already happened, so it's quite conflicting within itself, and you can really tell that she's upset, but at the same time she wants to stay strong for her dad. And I think even her dad's scared, because you can hear him breathing really heavily and just sound really unsure with everything he says during this car journey. Like I said earlier, this whole section up until they crash the car is just he's just building the soundtrack up. It starts off really subtle, and then lots of tiny little details are added to the overall soundtrack to help it build really well. And the whole car journey, even though I cut it in half there, the whole car journey is just about building this world that's just randomly gone into chaos, and we're given little pieces of information through the radio, and this is a great tool for people who want to give story to the world and things like that. So it's really good and really subtle in the way that they deliver the little snippets of story. This next bit is great for the sound design, because this part of the gameplay is about giving the player the freedom to experience the horror of this outbreak in the middle of the city without letting them do anything that would seem out of character. So because you have to carry a child, you have to keep moving forward, and you have to get to safety, and the way that the chaos is like delivered to the player is just through sound and by some visuals, because as you can see them running along the street, you can hear people shouting and screaming, and you can also hear the monsters like running after people and just attacking people and things like that, and there's gunfire, there's screaming, and all these things just encompass what madness is happening in the middle of this city, and this is what sells it as a horror game. And also with the soundtrack, which is building even more by the second, it's really subtle, but you can tell by as the action amps up and the horror amps up, so does the soundtrack at the same time, and they complement each other so well. And I think that's what's done so well. The Foley, the voice acting, and the soundtrack just complement each other so well in help building each other to be stronger and stronger. This part is where the audio really plays a part in the horror element of this game, because as you've just walked past that man who's attacked by one of the infected, you can hear the infected coming behind you and slowly creeping up towards you, and as you move past the one by the ambulance, there's another one, and there's two on you, and slowly the soundtrack's building up, and you're so close to safety, and it's so intense, and then it finally cuts to a cutscene, and you get saved by this military-looking man. As you can probably notice now, the soundtrack has stopped, and this normally symbolises the fact that you're safe, and you're secure, and you're free from harm. And as you start to hear what is saying on the radio, you can probably infer what's going to happen, and then it does happen.
Please don't. Oh no.
And then the soundtrack starts creeping again, and obviously this is to create emotion, and it really does, just by the soundtrack, what's gone on, the fact that there's no other sounds apart from the father and daughter, and the soundtrack is very emotional, and it really feels like the voice actors are being very genuine and putting through true emotion with how they're like evoking the performance. And it's brilliant. Next is the opening credits, which basically just also gives information to the player about what's happening in the world since the outbreak, and then transports the player into the future, where we then rejoin the same character.